Well, welcome back to John August Design. Today, I wanted to go over a few introductory terms. I'm going to have all these terms on my website at johnaugustdesign.com/terms. What we're going to be looking at is some of the basic ideas for web design, like cookies, domain, hosting, HTTP, HTML, CSS, things like that. Things that you've heard in your life in dealing with computers, but you might not know what they are. So this video is intended to kind of familiarize you before we begin the web design process itself. It might be easiest to follow along on my website. I'll have this list of terms and a few images to go along and help you help explain and help solidify some of these things into your mind. So here we go. DNS, we'll start with one of the harder ones. DNS means domain name system, and it's what humans use to navigate the internet. So johnaugustdesign.com, adobe.com, squarespace.com. These are all domain names. And all these domain names are connected to an IP address, which is what the internet uses to connect humans to these addresses. So an IP address is just numbers, which would be much more difficult to remember. If someone told you to remember a string of numbers, it would be much less likely to grasp your attention than if they gave you a name. When we talk about hosting, we're talking about the server, the company that's housing your information. So, for example, squarespace.com is a host. They will host your information on their server for a price, but everybody you have to have a web host because that's where your data is stored. If you upload images, they have to be stored there. You can create your own web host on a home server. That requires a lot of training and upkeep, and so that's why we pay companies like Squarespace, like GoDaddy. That's why we pay them to do this for us. So HTTP and HTTPS, that's the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, basically the code that your website transfers to a browser in order to decode it and turn it into something that's legible for the human eye. HTTPS, that's a secure transfer protocol. So with Squarespace, we will all have HTTPS, which means you can do banking. It's the little lock that you see up in your browser corner when you're visiting a secure site. So one thing that we get when we're paying for Squarespace is the security of transfer. So HTML is hypertext markup language, and this is the code that your website is founded upon. It's the foundations of the code are in HTML. And off of the HTML, you get CSS, you get Python, you get JavaScript. There are these other code languages, but they all always come back and refer to the HTML document. All right, next, navigation or menu. Contact us, about us, shop. The menu that you always see at the top of a website, we'll call that navigation or menu. That's an easy one, just important to remember that can also be called navigation. So as we're going along learning more about website, you know that menu and navigation refer to the same thing, so you don't get confused. All right, and plugin. So plugin is something that you get from a third-party website to put onto your website to accomplish a certain task. So for example, one plugin is called Communicate, and we're going to use that one, or I will recommend that you use that one, and it's a chat dialog box that you see when you go to spectrum.com and they ask you to chat for customer service. So that's a plugin on their website that's allowing them to do that. That's almost always third party because these third party applications can be easily programmed and then fit into your existing website. Okay, a responsive website, responsiveness. This is when you have a full-size website on your laptop or on your desktop, and then you look at it on your phone and it's different. Or as you resize your desktop browser, the information starts to stack and change. Now this is a responsive website. So some older websites, you'll go to them on your mobile device and it will just be exactly the same as it was on the desktop because that's not a responsive website. These days, when over half of our web traffic comes from a mobile device, it's really important to have a mobile responsive website. And Squarespace will do this automatically, but it's something that you can go in and adjust for yourself. SEO, or search engine optimization, is the process of making your site rank on Google searches. So if you type in Missoula, Montana, you're going to get 10, usually around 10 items on the Google search page. And those 10 items, whoever built those websites has put a lot of work into getting them to rank up there on Google. So there's tons of code and tons of background research and researching keywords for this and that that get those websites up to there. And not only that, but it's longevity. Google has a whole list. It's almost like how credit cards used to be, where you didn't know what was going to change your credit rating. Some things do and some things don't. It's a little bit like that with SEO. All right, cookies. It's a fun one. So cookies are a little bit of information that your browser stores, that you tell your browser to store for the next time you visit that site. So pretty much every website uses cookies, because if you enter in your password or you enter in a certain selection, it'll use a cookie to remember that selection for the next time your browser interacts with that website. Well, that's it for now. I'll be putting out another video on hosting plans for Squarespace, so keep your eyes peeled for that, and have a great rest of your day.